Hi there. So, for those who remember, who have been here for at least a year now, will probably remember last year I did a Mermay announcement, which was the very first Mermay Readathon that I was doing. It was also the very first readathon that I was hosting, and this year we're doing it again. So if you don't know, Mermay is originally a drawing challenge where you basically draw a bunch of things based on prompts that you get. A lot of people make their own prompt list. I don't know who created the Mermay drawing challenge originally. If I find it, I'll leave it in the description. But last year I actually thought it might be a good idea to make it also a readathon, just because I am obsessed with anything mermaids and oceans. So this year I thought I'd do it again. Unlike last year, this year we're going to do it as a board game. Instead of having teams and a point system, this year is a lot more chill and it's a lot smaller than last year. I'll put the board game on screen just so you can look at it. The board game consists of a bunch of prompts that you can follow, and when it comes to the board game, you can actually either choose to basically go prompt by prompt down the board, or you can roll a dice and basically move forward any point where you're at. So if you start off, you roll a 3, you move 3 boxes forward, and then you basically pick a book off of that prompt. If you're not like a mood reader, there's no limit for how many times you can play the board. You can, for the first one, go down every single prompt, and then the next time when you finish it, you still want to read more, you can roll the dice and read a different book based on the prompt that you get from that dice roll. And when it comes to what you can read whatever you want. It can be a book, dame, manga, manhwa, graphic novel, audiobook, ebook, everything counts. The readathon will take place from May 1st all the way through to May 31st. So it's the whole month of May, so you can basically read as much or as little as you want. And like I said before, unlike last year, it's not a point system, so there's no teams, there's no points. It's literally just for yourself to be able to get through your TBR and maybe read some more mermaidy books. Now, I know Mermay has mermaid in the name, but you don't necessarily have to read books about mermaids or they involve the ocean. You can basically bend and snap it however you like. I'm mainly going to pick books that do involve the ocean and mermaids in general because I like those types of books. But if that doesn't really tickle your fancy, you can literally just pick a book that, for example, has water on the cover. Even though it's not the ocean, it still fits the theme of having water, a body of water. And it can also be a monster romance where the monster is not necessarily a mermaid or a merman or a mer creature. It can literally just be like a octopus monster, because I know those exist. I also give a couple of recommendations of just books that I have on my shelf and also on my ebook, on my e-reader, sorry, just to give you a general idea of what books would fit the readathon. And then I'll also go down the list of the different prompts that are on the board game. Now, also, just like last year, we also have a drawing prompt list. So if you're also a little bit of an artsy person, or you just want to draw a little bit also during the readathon, you're completely free to pick and choose which prompts you want to choose. Usually Mermay and like any of these drawing challenges usually have a prompt per day. However, for the past couple of years, me personally, I haven't been able to draw on a daily basis the way that I used to. If you follow me on my art Instagram, you'll probably be able to remember that back 5 years ago or something, I would literally be posting every single day, maybe sometimes even twice a day, where I would just basically draw and immediately post it. And yeah, and that kind of not anymore. I haven't really been posting that much on my art account, which is kind of sad. I wish I would remember to post what I draw more often, and I would post more content on there, but I'm hoping to get there. And hopefully Mermay would be that time for me. I've also been considering doing the same for Inktober, because we did do Creeptober last year, and I'm thinking of redoing that readathon as well, so stay tuned for that. When it comes to the general rules for the readathon, there aren't that many. I already explained them for like the board game and stuff like that. One thing that I would like to add before I continue is that the readathon will take place mainly in my Discord server, which will be linked down below. It's completely open to anybody who wishes to join. However, since it is mainly in my Discord server, I would ask that if you choose to read any books by authors or the books themselves that are problematic or could be harmful to minorities and marginalized communities, that you not share them in the server themselves itself, because I always try to make my server a safe space for minorities and marginalized communities, and anything that could potentially make them uncomfortable or feel unsafe there is something that I do not wish to be a part of it. So you can always join. You can read what you want to read. I'm not going to tell you these are the books that you absolutely cannot read for the readathon. If you think that it fits a prompt, you can absolutely read it. But I also made these little graphics that are like book cover replacements for the graphics that are for like the TBR, the wrap up, and such things that they're currently reading. So if you are currently reading a book that you might think might be problematic for a minority group or a marginalized community, you can always use that one as a replacement. And if you are joining the Discord server, you are free to talk about the book, just don't mention it by name. And if someone asks you directly what book is it, you can always say that it is a book that might make people feel unsafe, so that if the person asking would like to still know, they can DM you. It's not gonna be a case where like you cannot absolutely not read this during the readathon. That is not how I work. It is just mainly to keep the server safe for everybody and to make sure that everybody feels welcomed, safe. That's the only thing that I would ask if you do choose to join. Now, like I just mentioned, we also have drawing prompts, which would consist of, the drawing prompts are jellyfish, ghost, witch, potions, books, doom, green, iron, game, stylist, ship, string, kiss, snake, curse, flowers, art, stars, monster, song, bug, sword, bath, and fire. Now when it comes to these prompts, it is completely up to your interpretation of what they mean. The only real rule, I guess, that comes with this is that it has to be a mermaid, because that's kind of the point of mermaid, that when every drawing prompt is for you to draw a mermaid based on that prompt. For example, jellyfish would be a jellyfish mermaid, ghost would be a ghost mermaid, a stylist is completely up to your interpretation. I personally wrote that down because I love Infinite Nikki, so I was planning on drawing a mermaid in the Infinite Nikki clothes in some of my favorite outfits that are from the game. Now, string was specifically created for Hua Chang and Chilean with their string on their finger, but that can also be up to your interpretation. Same thing with flowers and bug. It can be any type of flower, it can be any type of bug, and so on and so forth. I think you get the gist of what it is. Especially if you've joined drawing challenges before, you probably already know kind of what you have to do with these. Now we also have a couple of other graphics, such as like little badges. I made a Mermay Readathon 2025 badge, which is just something, a PNG that you can either put on your Instagram stories or like on your wrap up, or like when you post your TBR, it's just a little graphic that you can put on top. And then we also have a bunch of graphics for your Instagram stories, which has currently reading, finished books, and TBR. And then for the finished books one, for the wrap up, I specifically put like little things on beneath the cover, so that you can actually put your rating on there as well. So like I mentioned before, the readathon will take place mainly in the Discord server, but in there we're also going to be having reading sprints for the readathon. So if you don't know what reading sprints are, I think on Twitch they're usually called productivity sprints or co-working sprints or co-reading sprints. There are many different terms for it, but I mainly remember it from YouTube being reading sprints, where basically there's a timer for a certain amount of time. Usually it's between 30 minutes and an hour and a half. Sometimes people do more, where you just lock into whatever you're doing. In this case, it would be, for me personally, it would be reading, and then for a small amount of time or the same amount of time, we take a break where we yap, we talk about what we're reading, what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be doing next. And then once the break ends, same thing, timer goes running again, and then we continue to lock in. And this is I think this was originally made for like studying, so if you are studying during the readathon, you can also join the sprints while studying. That's also like, again, there's no rules for like the sprints. If you want to read, you can read. If you want to study, you can study. If you want to just have some company while you get things done around the house, you can also just put those on as well. They will be either on Discord or they'll also be on my Twitch channel, where I'll be doing co-working sprints on there, so you can also always join on there. The readathon will also take place on there as well, so feel free to join. Oh, I forgot to mention about the graphics. The graphics will be on my Ko-fi. They're completely free. You can literally just download them. They'll be $0, €0, whatever your currency is. On Discord we will have a separate chat channel for the readathon. I already made a forum channel for the readathon on there, so if you join the Discord specifically for the readathon, you can always mention that in like your in your introduction or whatever. If you don't know where to find the channel, you can always ask me or Ahmad. If you're still confused by this video and like you have a couple of questions, you can always ask them in the comments, or you can join the Discord, ask on there, because I'm pretty sure I already gave some details about the readathon in my server as well. But questions are always welcome. There's no stupid questions, there are no anything. You can always ask me anything. Now let me go over the prompts that are on the on the board game. I cannot speak. So the very first square where it says start, it's a free space, so there's no prompt. You can literally just pick whatever book you want. It can be a book that is like mermaid themed with like mermaid and oceans, or it can literally just be anything. It can be something that doesn't fit at all. It's just something to get you into the mood of reading. And again, it can be a book, it can be a manga, it can be anything. It can be an audiobook, an ebook. We're not discriminating here. And then the second prompt is a book with water on the cover, so that's also very straightforward. Just a book that has water on the cover. It can be an ocean, it can be a well, it can be a lake, it can be any body of water. Hell, it can even be just a vial of a liquid that looks like water. You're completely fine. Or anything else that looks like water, if you get my meaning. The next prompt is a book under 100 pages. So that's like a pretty short book. That's usually like a manga or graphic novel. But yes, those are like really short books. So it's really just a prompt list to try and get you through your TBR, so that like the prompts aren't hyper specific and you can literally just take them and interpret them however you like, however you see fit. So yeah, a book under 100 pages. I don't think I have one next to me right now, but I know I have a couple of manga and graphic novels and also some classics on my shelves that I can use for this prompt. And again, since there's no like mention of like water or anything, it doesn't necessarily have to be ocean or mermaid themed. It can literally just be any book under 100 pages that'll still fit the prompt. The next prompt is a book with a LGBTQIA plus main character. So this is a queer book. So again, no very specific, just that it has to have a main character that is queer. So there are a ton of books that can fit this. I already have right here 2 recommendations for this, which are The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea, and The Siren, the Song, and the Spy, which are sequels. This is the first one, this is the second one. I think this is a standalone sequel. I haven't read this one yet. This one I obviously have. I am planning on rereading this just because of how much I loved it. But I might read this one actually for the readathon. Or I may just reread this. I'm not sure yet what I'm gonna do, but yes. These 2 by Maggie Takuda Hall. These 2, this one is probably one of my favorite books of all time. I would always pitch this one as like a shorter version of The Prior of the Orange Tree. Even though it's not like the exact same, the vibes I was getting from this while reading this were very similar to The Prior of the Orange Tree. So if you feel intimidated by The Prior of the Orange Tree, I highly recommend reading this one, just to see if you like the vibes from this, if you think, okay, I like this. If you like this, you'll definitely like The Prior of the Orange Tree, that's 100% sure. The next prompt is a graphic novel. So this could literally just be a graphic novel or a manhwa or a manga, anything that is basically a graphic novel, no matter the country that it's from. I have a mermaid manga right here that I bought a while back. I haven't read it yet, but I'm planning on reading it for readathon. It's Mermaid Scales and the Town of Sand by Yoko Komori. I thought the art style looked so cute, so I'm definitely going to be reading this one. I also have a bunch of other manga, but I don't think any of them are ocean themed or like mermaid themed, even though that's not a rule that you have to pick a graphic novel or manga that fits this mermaid ocean theme. It is just a preference for me because it is mermaid and I tend to like to fit the prompts that I pick. I also like, I should also probably mention the series that originally inspired this readathon, which, hold on, let me grab it. It's the Waterfire Saga by Jennifer Donnelly. I originally read these books a while back, and I will always say that this is the book series that got me into reading. So the series is pitched as Percy Jackson but with mermaids. So I reread the first one twice already. I think I reread the second one. I'm pretty sure, yes I did. I used to try to reread one of these every single year, but then I got into a heavy slump, and so I actually ended up never rereading the third one. So I'm hoping to do that this year, but since I don't have any audiobooks for these, that might not be the case. But I thought it might still be important that I show these series that originally inspired this readathon. So I highly recommend these. These are YA, even though I think they were originally sold as middle grade, which absolutely terrifies me. I'm glad to find out that I think they changed it by now, because this series is so bloody and like has some gore in there, like not really gore, but like body horror and blood and like themes of war and, you know, colonization and such, and I'm like, this is a middle grade? I was kind of worried, but yes. So yeah, I highly recommend these for the readathon as well. The next prompt is a book with a blue cover. So once again, it could be a mermaid one, or it could literally just be any book that has a blue cover on it that you feel like reading for the readathon. I have quite a few blue books on my shelf, not gonna lie, so I can definitely have my pick for those. One of my main priorities this month is definitely going to be starting Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. So, and this one actually could fit because the cover is kind of teal-ish, even though that does not fit at all. But, you know, better snap and break that bitch, I guess. It has an LGBTQ main character. So the next space is, again, a free space. So you can choose whatever book you want for this. It can be, again, ocean themed or not. It's completely up to what you want to read. Every free space is essentially the same thing, where you can pick whatever book that you like. It doesn't have a prompt, it's whatever you feel like reading. It's kind of like a break from the prompt, I guess. Then the next space is a book with a ship. So that can mean two things: an actual ship or a ship between two characters. So it can be a romance, I guess. It's a different way of saying you can read a romance or a book with a ship, for example. Again, these do have ships in them, both romantically and also literal ships. And then same thing for, obviously, on the Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea, there is a ship on the cover. This also counts. But yes, it can be whatever you choose to interpret it as. You could interpret it as an actual ship or a romance book of your liking. But then stop and break that bitch. A book with mythology. Again, this can be any mythology. I think I may be trying to read a classic for this one, but we'll see. I don't have that many classics on my shelves, so we don't know yet. Next space is a book with a fairy tale. So this can be a real life fairy tale that like you grew up with or whatever. For example, one of my favorite fairy tale retelling is Little Thieves. Even though I never read the original fairy tale, it is one of my favorite books of all time. So I may end up reading that fairy tale at one point. And so yeah, when it comes to with a fairy tale, when it comes to that prompt, it can be a literal book that is the original fairy tale of, you know, an original fairy tale like The Little Mermaid or whatever. Or you can reread a retelling. Not reread, read a retelling. It can be whatever you like. It can, as long as it has a fairy tale theme. It doesn't even have to be a fairy tale that we have ourselves. It can be, for example, The Cruel Prince. You can also interpret fairy tale as a tale about fairies, or it can be a book that has a fairy tale theme with it, or it can be a book that has basically its own created fairy tale within the story. The next space is a book with a game. So this could be also anything. It could be like a murder mystery between a detective and a criminal, where they basically play a game of cat and mouse. It is, again, up to your interpretation of however you choose to interpret these prompts. I'm trying to think of what book did I have in mind for this? I don't remember. It can also have the theme of gambling, any type of game. It can also be a book based on where there's a theme of video games involved. For example, Scum Villain. I know that I'm pretty sure that Don May is basically, it has a video game theme with it. I may be wrong, don't quote me on that, but yes, I'm pretty sure you know whatever yes. The next space is a book originally written in a foreign language. For example, my native language is French, but since I do tend to read a lot more in English, I think that reading something that was originally written in French would still count. Same thing if you like tend to read books in English. If a book is originally written in any different language, you can read that. Or if you choose to have like, oh, my native language is German, so then I'm gonna read a book that is not originally written in German. Now, if that's the case and you read a lot in English, you have literally every option on your shelves. I will personally try to read books that aren't written originally either in French, Dutch, Spanish, or English, just because those are the 4 languages that I do speak. So a foreign language would be like Japanese, Korean, Chinese, so on and so forth. Next space is again a free space. Then the next one is a book with monsters. This is again up to your own interpretation. It can be a literal monster romance, or it could be a true crime one, or it could be a murder mystery one where the monster is the murderer or like the criminal in the story. It can be a fantasy that has a monster in it. Anything. Next space is a book taking place at the beach. So the first one that comes to mind for me is Beach Read by Emily Henry. So that is also very straightforward. It doesn't even have to be a book that takes place on like near a beach throughout the entire book. It can literally just be a book that has a beach scene in it. Just anything. It doesn't even have to be during the summer. It literally just has to have a book that has a beach scene in there somewhere. I feel like I'm giving too much explanation for like the simplest things. The next one is falling for the villain. So I think this is very easily enemies to lovers or something like that. Then the final prompt is a haunting story. So this is like a lot more horror, a lot more paranormal. But again, this can be up to your interpretation or whatever. And then the final one is again a free space, and then you're finished with the board game. Now, like I mentioned, you can either choose to just end there, or you can start again. And like I said, you can literally just roll a dice. Let me grab one of my dice, actually, real quick, just to give y'all a kind of like feel of it. I'm gonna take this one because I got these dice as freebies at SakuraCon last week. You have a dice, you can either take 1 or 2. I'm gonna take 1 just for this. Let me roll it. Yeah, I rolled a 1. That's not that's a 5, so that would be the start. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A book with a blue cover, and so on and so forth. And then from there, let me roll again. That's 3, so that's 1, 2, 3. A book with mythology. Now, I guess what you can also do, if you want to do it a little bit more difficult for yourself, you can roll twice, where the first prompt, for example, a book with a blue cover, then it rolls a second time, which for me was a book with mythology. So then you can try and find a book that has a blue cover and that has mythology in it. Completely up to your own choice. Like, you can actually mix and match these prompts. For example, if you read a book for the prompt, a book with a blue cover, but that book also has mythology in it, and you end up on that square, you can either choose to reread a different book with mythology, or you can also just count that prompt as finished because you technically already read a book with mythology in it. That is completely up to you. I am also planning on doing the oh god, my battery's about to die. I'm also planning on doing the readathon on Storygraph, just so that people can share their own TBRs on there and like add books to the readathon. But I don't know how to do that yet, so don't quote me on that. I'll still leave it linked in the description if I do end up doing it. I think that's pretty much everything that I had to say. My battery's about to die, so I need to rush. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if something wasn't very clear or you have any questions, feel free to ask them down below, and I hope to see you guys doing the readathon, and most importantly, have fun. Bye!